Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. Today is December 7, 2011. This is a regular meeting of the Sacramento-Yolo Port District Commission and the Board of Directors of the Sacramento-Yolo Port Financing Corp., all better known as the Port of West Sacramento. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll? Here. Here. Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. And Mike, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? No, excuse me. Tim Campbell, please lead us in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
It was taken away like that.
Yeah, I know. He almost got to do it. He made a mistake last time, so he's still in training. All right, thank you very much. We'll go right to our first item. This is number 1, presentations by the public on matters not otherwise on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the Commission. I have 2 requests to speak. I believe, do you want to speak now or you want to?
No, I can speak now.
Okay, please. We'll start with you then, Derek. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Derek Peterson, President, Local 18. Just wanted to start off, we've been having some issues with some of the leasees, which I appreciate staff resolved one of our big problems. I thank them because I know it was a lot of work that multiple meetings. So I appreciate that. But I just want to let you guys know that we support the port 110%. But our fear is what happens is you get some outside entities that come in and they don't recognize our safety codes. They don't recognize our contracts. And since they aren't a signatory to it, they don't think they're privy to it. You know, they need this information. They need to know what's going on because it's just going to help commerce move smoothly. We've had a couple issues lately that we don't think is justifiable on us. We shouldn't have to go and police what's going on, an outsider coming in and sort of rubbing their feather, fuffling their feathers and trying to get us to do something we don't want to do. And a lot of people gave their lives. A lot of sweat went into our contracts, or especially our safety code. Our safety code's there to protect us. There's a couple issues that aren't being recognized. And like I said, it's not the port staff, I don't believe. It's just when we get involved with these leases with outside people that have no knowledge of our contracts and our safety codes, they don't think about it. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of these people even think that they even have to ask. Sort of like, hey, I give them rent, I'm going to park my train here, and I'm going to do what I want with it. Or I park my crane here, and I come through the gate at 90 miles an hour, and they don't care if we're loading rice. You know, so it's just something I want to look for. I want to address that, and I know Mike them will get on in it with our terminal manager. But it's just it's a concern that keeps growing. There's some issues that are really in our face that it's insulting almost on some of it. So I just wanted to bring that to your guys' attention.
Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. And I do hope, Mike, you take a note. And I know we've had a couple conversations since our last meetings with you all. Tim Campbell.
Tim Campbell, Local 18, LRC. I have a letter that I want to read that in regard to a health and safety. Leased rail space is Sierra Northern Rail by the Port of Sacramento. In regards to health and safety at the Port of Sacramento, anytime there's locomotive power in the port, which is better known as power in the yard in the longshore industry, we, the union, feel that the integrity of our safety is being compromised due to the lack of notification from rail personnel that there will be power in the yard. Information is not being provided to the Port of Sacramento's terminal operator. This gross negligence enables them to create a safe workplace for the union or management. Now, quoting verbiage from the Pacific Coast Marine Safety Book, I have sections here that I was going to quote. I'm not going to quote the sections today. I just want to let everybody know that today we had a group working out down there at the Rice facility, and Sierra Northern hops in this locomotive and takes off, starts pulling a rail car out with them. Nobody's none the wiser of any of this stuff. You know, we could have had welding leads strung across the track. Part of the jurisdiction of us out there, we weld on some of the rail out there. What if we had a man out there? There's no plan put in place. These operators have a plan that they're supposed to give the terminal operator and let them know when, how long they're going to be in the yard and when they're going to be moving power around, so we can create a safe plan for it. And this isn't happening. It's a huge safety issue. We just had a man die on a ship. So I think safety right now is going to be kind of the hot point. I think it's a tragedy that a 23-year-old young crew member had to lose his life, for us to kind of wake up and be familiar with our surroundings and watch your partners and keep yourself out of the bite. But this is something I think you're going to see a lot more of, is a little more safety issues coming up. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate that. I think it goes without saying that safety should be job one, and I know that it is with you guys, and we'll follow up on that. Thank you. Actually, all we have left really is our consent agenda, items 2 through 5. Is there any item that a member wishes to either call off or pull off or comment on? Number 2. Okay. Do we have a motion then to approve 3, 4, 5?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? It's unanimous. And then let's go back to 2, Mr. Johannesson.
Yeah, Mike, will you handle this?
Yes.
First of all, I really appreciate the analysis you did for the reach out to the West Sacramento businesses in terms of the context for this type of agreement. But one thing I mentioned, or that you mentioned in the report, is that you're going to you're looking at the benefit to local contractors with this type of thing, and you've said at the end of page 2 that staff will track this benefit to determine the contract with the proposed term. So I haven't seen that tracking language, at least I haven't noticed it in others. Is that something that we're going to start to do on local benefit, and if so, how is that going to come back to us so we can see if this is really having an impact?
Yes, with respect to this one, we will bring back to you at the end of the contract a reporting. This is very new, so we haven't really decided whether we'd bring it back in a group with several contractors or one at a time. We'd be open to either item if you want us to bring it back on a contract by contract basis, or group them, for a period of time, maybe a quarter or 6 months, and bring it back to you so you can see a large number of them. So whichever you desire, we'd be happy to accommodate that.
Well, at this point, I'd like to see what you're measuring.
Okay.
And then maybe everybody else can chime in at some point what when the timing. But for me, I'd like to see kind of what you're measuring, the benefits you're measuring, and then apply that consistently through other contracts. And there could be a very simple way to present this.
It's a little more nebulous, if you will, in the public bidding process, because we're limited in that regard, in what we can ask them to do, versus the professional services contract, where we could probably come up with a very clear set of performance measures. So we'll try to work on that and see if we can at the least come up with some categories that we could that we find common in those public works bids that we can measure a performance against. So.
It's page 2, the agenda, item 2, agenda report. It's at the bottom of the analysis, first analysis paragraph, the last sentence. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thanks, Mike. I'm sorry, and also, I'm sure the chamber would like to see that as
Absolutely.
well, to see, because they've got the shop local, buy local. Thanks.
All right. Any further question or comment on item 2? Do we have a motion? Motion approved? Moved by Mark, seconded by Oscar. All in favor?
Excuse me, there was on item, sorry you had this already, but on item number 3, there was a substitute amendment on your dais. I'm sorry, I
Without
did not point
objection,
that out.
we'll assume that the substitute was acted on in the motion, unless there's an objection to that. And all in favor of 2, aye. That's unanimous. That takes us to the consent agenda. Mike, anything further from Port Manager?
Just wanted to elaborate briefly a little bit more on the item that Tim Campbell mentioned. We had notified you a day or so ago of a unfortunate fatality that we had on the Oakland ship that was shipping rice out of our port to Japan, and during its voyage, the beginning of its voyage, there was a shift in cargo, and unfortunately, one of the crew members, 23-year-old individual. Unfortunately, we don't have his vital information to provide you. We will at the next Port Commission meeting. But he was unfortunately killed due to cargo falling on him. That ship returned to port, where returned to the port of Sacramento, where the cargo was inspected by the cargo surveyors, by SSA Marine, and by the owners of the ship who came in to examine the cargo. Upon that inspection, they found that the cargo was stable, and the ship then sailed the following day. Very, very unfortunate accident. I agree totally with Tim's sentiments that this really brings safety into perspective when something like this happens. And what we'll be doing is bringing to you this death of a crew member is a very, very rare occurrence at any port. And what we would like to bring back to you at a future Port Commission meeting is something that we can do to send our condolences to at least the company, if not his family, and maybe look at something like planting a tree or something, doing something in his memory at the port. But we'll bring that back to you likely at the January meeting.
You know where he's from?
We believe he's from the Philippines.
Thank you. Yeah, I read that, and I can't remember another incident like that as long as I've been around the port, so it must be, it is rare.
Very rare.
All right. Anything further?
No, sir.
CEO?
Nothing this evening.
Attorney? Nothing. Any member of the commission? We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.